Okay, Jody, could you provide a little bit of an intro to what we're doing this evening?
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Santa Monica KTC's weekly Thursday night Sangha. We're so happy and grateful that Lama Kathy is joining us this evening. If you would like to make a donation to Lama Kathy, you can do so by clicking the link in your newsletter that you received tonight with the announcement of tonight's Sangha event, or you can go on our website, santamonicakTC.com. There's also links on that website where you can become a member if you would like to, and find out about all of our programs that we're going to be having. And we're looking forward to lots of programs that are coming up in the new year. So we'll keep everybody posted on our website about that. So with that, I will hand it over to Lama Kathy this evening. And again, thank you so much for being here, Lama K. It really means a lot to all of us.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. And I really appreciate the opportunity to come and talk with you this evening. I'm coming to you from beautiful downtown Newark, Ohio, where I have been living for the last few years, and I'm part of the Columbus Karma Thegsum Chöling. The name of the center, Karma Thegsum Chöling, was given by the 16th Jawang Karmapa, the head of the Karma Kagyu lineage of Tibetan Buddhism. Karma is our family name because we're of the lineage of the Karma Kagyu, and one of the four Tibetan Buddhist lineages still existing. And Thegsum is three vehicles, meaning that during the Buddha's lifetime on earth, he gave 3 cycles of teachings, and this center represents all 3 of them. We do practices from the Hinayana, the Mahayana, and the Vajrayana, all 3 of the vehicles or yanas of Buddhism. And the Chöling means Dharma place, so the place of the Dharma, the place of the Buddhist teachings. So place of the Buddhist teachings of the 3 vehicles of the Karma Kagyu tradition. It's a long name, so KTC does seem to make a lot of sense. And all of the 20 plus KTC centers in the United States are connected to the Karma Triana Dharmachakra Monastery in Woodstock, New York. The center in Columbus is one of the older ones. We are a little bit more than 45 years old, having been founded in 1977 by Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche, who also founded other centers around the United States, including the parent, or actually the predecessor of Santa Monica KTC, Los Angeles KTC. And so Los Angeles and Santa Monica are now folded together. And so now we're part of the national organization as well as the local Sangha. Everybody gets together to practice our 3 practices: quiet sitting meditation. Quiet sitting meditation is our Hinayana practice. It's very helpful to calm the mind and to bring about a better understanding of our thought processes. The Mahayana practice is a Tonglen, or compassion meditation. By learning compassion meditation, we learn how to work with our emotional states. And then finally, the Vajrayana practice is twofold. We practice mantra, such as the compassion mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, and also the practice known as Mahamudra meditation. And so these are practices that are done at all of the KTC centers, and also study groups like this one. So I've been studying with the group here very slowly. I am sorry to be going at a glacial pace, but we're studying Joyful Wisdom, the book by Mingyur Rinpoche. And we're about halfway through the book now, and we're just coming into the part where he's talking about shamatha, or calm abiding meditation. So I thought it would be good if, because we're a lot of people are having a lot of family around the house for the winter holidays, the Christmas and New Year's holidays. I thought it would be good if we started with a little bit of shamatha meditation ourselves. And then I'll do some question and answer, because we haven't had a question and answer in this group for a while, a general question and answer. So I'm going to provide some general question and answer. And then after that, if there's still time, we can jump into the first part of shamatha meditation. Shamatha means calm abiding, and the Tibetan word for it is shi, shi, nay, nay, and it means calm abiding. And it means to place one's attention on an object. In this case, it will be the breath as the breath comes in and the breath goes out. That will be our basic object of attention during the 5 or 6 or 7 minutes that we're going to be meditating this evening. Everybody who is already familiar with meditation knows that the function of meditation is to allow the mind to come to rest on an object. But what you noticed, if you've tried meditating before, is that placing your attention on an object does not guarantee you will stay with your attention on the object. Sometimes your attention will wander into the past, or it will wander into the future, or it'll go around in circles analyzing the now. So the technique that I was taught when this happens is to notice what is happening. Notice that you're wandering from the breath into the past, into the future, or around and around and around the now, and to gently bring the attention back to the breath and think of it as a fresh start. So those of you who are sitting in chairs, you can sit with your feet flat on the floor. Those of you who are sitting on meditation cushions can use any of the various types of leg postures with the cushion underneath your backside. And after having placed yourself on the cushion, it's nice to be able to rock gently from side to side and ground yourself on your cushion. And you can place your hands either in the gesture of meditation in your lap, or you can place your hands in the posture that was favored by our Kagyu forefather, Marpa the translator, where he placed the hands palm downward on the legs. Whichever of these you use, you place the hands upon the tops of your legs. And if you're sitting cross-legged, you can place them on the tops of your legs, right ahead of your knees. The upper body can be straight, meaning it has its nice natural curves. The shoulders, hands and arms, the shoulders are straight. The arms fall in a natural location on your legs. The chin can be tucked in slightly, which straightens the neck vertebrae. The eyes can be closed or slightly open. If your eyes are slightly open, you're gazing. You're not looking at a point. You're allowing your gaze to be gently on the floor or on what is in front of you. So you start the meditation by forming a mental intention, and that mental intention is, for the next few minutes, I will do breath awareness meditation for the benefit of myself and the benefit of all sentient beings. And making this intention, you can begin with one deep breath. Breathe out. And then let the breath come and go naturally, following the feeling of the breath as it comes in and goes out. And we'll be sitting for about 5 minutes, and then I'll ring the little bell at the end and give you some more instructions on how to arise from a meditation. So for the benefit of beings, I'm hoping that this chime is heard by you. With the conclusion of the meditation, one of my teachers suggested that instead of jumping up from meditation, that you open your eyes. If they're closed, open them gently and move very gently as you bring yourself up from meditation, and try to continue the mindfulness you develop on the cushion into your next activity. The teacher said, don't just pop up and go and do whatever is on your mind. Take a moment to allow the mind to settle a little bit before you get up. In the Buddhist tradition, we often will stop at the end of a meditation and do a dedication of merit prayer, where we dedicate the goodness of the meditation to all suffering beings. That's a really good time to take a moment to let your mind relax. So that's a little bit of meditation. Does anybody have questions about the meditation? Someone asked before we started the recording a question about karma, and I'll get to that in a minute or so. But I wanted to see first if anybody had any questions about meditation in general, or this specific one, or anything else about meditation. How was that? Is it like what you've always done, or?
When you said like normally I do jump up, I'm like, oh, like, is that a normal thing to do? It's so great. I never thought that I did that.
I understand. I know.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. Thanks for that.
Mm-hmm. This is the thing about our teachers. They're incredibly perceptive. They sort of know how we are, right? Any other questions or curiosities about the meditation?
I have a question about meditation. This
Yes.
is Carolyn.
Yeah,
and I didn't know if I first should say just a little something about my background, since I'm new to the group.
Yeah.
Or does that matter?
Sure.
I'm a longtime student of Trango Rinpoche, and connected with the center, the Vajravidya Center in Crestone, Colorado. And I attended the stupa dedication for Khenpo Kartar, and where I met Lopan Tuften. And because of that, I noticed he was teaching in Santa Monica, so I attended the Bardo teaching. And then I participated in your Zoom teaching that you had as a follow-up for it. And then I just did a 10-day retreat in Crestone, where I watched the 9 videos of the Joyful Wisdom teaching. And I thought, this is great. I want to get in on this. So here I am. And but I did have a question, which was that I have a terribly busy mind. Even though I've been a practitioner for a long time, I'm like the lady you said that can count to 100 and still be thinking. I do sadhana, but I mostly do sadhana practice. And but I'm like that. I can be saying the sadhana and thinking something else, So you had mentioned that sadhana practice was good for people that kind of had a busy mind and need to latch onto something. But I'm trying to do the shamatha because I got kind of worried and distressed after hearing Lopan Tuften, talk about how you really have to control your mind in the Bardo. And I'm like, right, I can't control my dreams. So fat chance in the Bardo. So anyway, that's why I'm really trying to struggle with the shamatha to get my mind to quiet. And I tried different techniques that you've suggested. Mm-hmm. And I just wondered what your advice was, if you had any particular for someone in my situation. I have very strong faith and devotion and diligence in my practice, but I just can't quite get that mind to have the mindfulness and the alertness that I know I need.
Boy, I really
Am I
appreciate
hopeless?
I really appreciate the introduction. It's extremely helpful. It's
Uh-huh.
extremely helpful because you've had a lot of blessing in your life. So I think that that's a really good that's a good thing to start with, and just say you've had an incredible number of blessings in your life to be connected to such great lamas who've given instruction. And in a way, we're all sort of in the same boat, in that we've all had great lamas as our instructors, but we haven't been totally able to take all of their teachings to heart. And I think that there are so many different reasons why shamatha is a struggle for people. And I think that it could be that we have an idea of what it's supposed to be like. And this idea that we have of what it's supposed to be like doesn't match what we think we are doing. And we could be mistaken on both counts. So actually, your meditation could be a lot better than you think it is. And so we might need to do a little bit of discussion to try to get at that a bit. Because Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche said, when he was teaching, he said the mistake that a lot of people make when they approach meditation is that they think their mind has to be totally clear of thoughts, and that they have to have no thoughts. But that's not the case. He said, number one, it's impossible. Number two, it's impossible. So what it is that we have to, what it is, I think, that you want to work on is to work on using the skills you already have to improve the meditation. Since you say you have devotion, a lot of devotion and faith, that's probably the best place to start. When His Eminence Taisita Rinpoche was teaching meditation in India a number of years ago, he said that because we have faith in our gurus, it's really a good thing to do some guru yoga at the beginning of our shamatha session. You don't have to do a big, lengthy guru yoga. It's all that matters is that you place the guru either above your head or in front of you, and ask for the guru's blessing. And imagine that the guru shines light upon you, and that the light that the guru shines upon you, you can see the traditional lights of body, speech, and mind, but that's pretty complicated. So maybe the easiest thing is to see that light comes from the form of the Lama, who is made of light, him or herself. The Lama being made of light, the Lama shining light upon us. We think that that light that the Lama shines upon us removes all of our veils. It removes our negative karma. It removes our obscurations, our obstacles, our doubts, our fears, our concerns, everything that makes it difficult to practice, our expectations, our worries. We imagine that that light removes it all. And then we imagine that the guru dissolves into us and blesses our stream of being. And we can even think that our mind and the guru's mind have become inseparable for a moment. And Sita Rinpoche said, after that, that's the best time to start your shamatha practice, is after you've received the blessing of the guru's mind. And then when a person is doing the practice, they will place their attention, and the attention will only stay for a few seconds, and then it will wander. So the idea is to notice the wandering, and then gently bring the mind back to the object of meditation, and think of that as a fresh start. And what we notice at first when we do this is that the period of resting is very short, and the period of wandering is long. But slowly that period of wandering will get shorter and shorter and shorter. There will still be wandering, but it won't be as long as it was at first. And that this is actually good meditation. Even if a person wanders many times, it is still meditation. It's not wasted. It's still meditation, because those short periods of attention are valuable. They are worthwhile. They are actually really meditation, even those few seconds of placing the attention. And whether you're doing a breath awareness or whether you're being aware of the form of a Buddha or Bodhisattva in mantra meditation, the practice and technique is the same, which is to notice when your mind is wandered, and then you can even take hold of that wandering, and you can even label it thinking, and you can let it go and then return to the object. And each time you do this, you have to do this. Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche emphasized the gentleness with which you approach your attention. You don't scold your attention. You don't scold yourself. You don't scold your attention. You say, "Oh, it's just come back over here," and with that sense of gentleness and love for oneself, coming back to the breath. And then it will stay, your attention will stay again for a while, but then it'll wander again. And then you just bring it back. So my friend Julie, the brain scientist at West Virginia University, says that the moment that you notice you're distracted and the moment you return are where the new neural pathways get made in the brain. And so she said, without the wandering, you wouldn't be making these new neural pathways. This doesn't mean you should sit there and entertain all kinds of fantasies, thinking, "Oh, well, this is me wandering around so that I can come back." It's not like that. But I don't know if this is helpful at all. But I think it's because we can't expect to have no thought. It isn't like that at all. We have to just keep coming back. My friends in 12-step, that's one of their slogans. They say keep coming back, which means keep coming back to recovery meetings. But you can also just keep coming back to the breath, keep coming back to the Karmapas called it come back to your home. Your mind is your home. And so just when you come back, just think, okay, I'm home now, So I don't know if that particular technique might be helpful or not. What do you think?
Well, I'll certainly give it a try. I haven't quite done that. When I was doing my retreat, I did Guru Yoga first in the morning, and then did the shamatha, but I didn't try to do it like right before I did a shamatha session. So I think that's good advice, and I will give that a try and let you know next month.
Very good.
And I think what you said too about I just have to have more patience with myself to just keep coming back and not get frustrated, and want to give up. So
I really appreciate that, because what Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche told us, he said that there are two kinds of meditators. He said the first style of meditators, when they first sit down, everything's great. It is so easy to follow the technique. It's so easy to notice. It's so easy to return, so easy to notice, so easy to return. But the longer they sit, the harder it gets to come back. He said that type of person should sit for shorter periods of time more frequently in the day. So they don't sit so long that they feel frustration. Then he said the second style of meditator is the style that when they first sit down, it's a struggle. They're here, they're there, they're everywhere. But then slowly, the longer they sit, the easier it gets for them to pursue the technique and to follow the technique. And he said that person needs to sit for a longer period of time so they can work through the struggle at the beginning and get to the part where it is easy to practice the technique of coming back again and again and again. And some people alternate. And so I hope this is also helpful.
Well, you mentioned that in a previous talk, and I tried to decide which I was, and I decided I must be a third kind, which has trouble with both.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, Khenpo Rinpoche used to say, don't hold your attention with force. I mean, don't hold your attention with force or stress. He said, just place it. In fact, you may notice, and I mentioned this in some of my talks, I never use the word focus and I never use the word concentrate. I never use those two words. Why? Because people sincerely want to practice well, so they will over-focus and concentrate, and then that will produce a stress around the practice of sitting. So
what's interesting for me, not to hog all this, but just one more thing, is that I really can concentrate well. I'm a painter, and I have a real capacity for concentration when I'm not trying to meditate. So I end up just not knowing what's wrong.
Yeah, see, and I think that this is where the investigation needs to happen. The investigation is there an expectation of what will happen and a fear of what will happen that's creating something, and then maybe the blessing from the guru will help some. Okay. And the gentleness and the just being gentle with oneself, just being gentle with oneself. Because what's really interesting is that meditation is this relaxed attentiveness. So it's a little bit of both, you see, and the relaxation and the attention go together, and they help each other. So hopefully this will help.
Thank you so much.
We'll talk some more. Yeah, we'll talk more later about that, because I think these are really good. I'm so glad you asked these questions. So thanks.
Thank you for answering them.
Yeah, fantastic.
Lama Kathy, can I ask you quickly?
Yeah, sure.
You mentioned the neural pathways get created at the point of bringing the attention back when you get distracted. Is that what you said?
Yeah, well, I'm close to what I said. In fact, I'll elaborate using words, science words from Dr. Julie. Science words, yes. My friend, Dr. Julie, I was her lab rat in Madison, Wisconsin, when she was working under Dr. Richie Davidson on the very first meditation studies that he was doing, or maybe the second wave. I think she got involved during the second wave of studies, and I met her there. Later, we became friends, and she has visited Columbus three times or four times to give teachings about brain science and meditation for the Center of Science and Industry, our science museum in Columbus. So every year for Science Festival, she talks about meditation, and it's a lot of fun. She says that she said there is a moment that brain scientists call the oops moment, science words, OOPS, oops moment. And that is when you realize that you are no longer doing the task that you set your attention to. When you notice that your attention has wandered and you notice it, that's the oops moment. And she said that's where it begins. That's where the new neural pathway work begins, is in the middle of the oops moment, when you notice that you've been distracted, and then you choose to do something different. You choose to return your attention to the object of meditation, and that's where the new neural pathways get created. But if I can find some of her lectures online, I'll let you in on them. But did that answer that for you, Max?
Yeah, definitely. Very interesting, and would like to know more, of course, if possible.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And she'll be back, I hope, next year, first week of May, to Columbus, and be giving 3 more programs, one on mindfulness, one on compassion, and the other on the science of awe. So there's that.
Fantastic.
Okay, so now for the person who asked the question about karma. Let's see. Let's see. Oops, we've got some, speaking of oops, we've got Daniel coming back in. Because I think the program goes till the bottom of the hour. Is that right? Okay.
7:30 usually.
Okay, very good.
Sorry,
So
for you, you know what I mean.
yeah,
sorry.
for me, it's 10:30, right? So I would like to say one more thing about shamatha, and that is that the next time we talk, we're going to discuss the 7 points of meditation posture, and go and do a little bit about the actual practice of shamatha. We'll just cover it briefly, but then really kind of dig into some of the things that he's talking about, where he's talking about the different steps of meditation. So we'll talk a little bit more about that next time. So the person who is asking about karma asks a very good question, and it's a very common question, which is, when something bad happens to me, is that bad thing that happened to me because of my karma, or is it that the person who is doing the bad thing to me is accumulating negative karma? Which is it? Well, we don't know. We can't say with certainty which it is, but my teacher said only an enlightened being can tell you whether what is happening to you is a result of your karma, or whether it is something that is just happening. When we were in 3-year retreat, Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche said that he said something that made everybody gasp. He said, not everything that happens to you is your karma. And people went, oh, because they thought they had read about karma and thought that everything that happened to them was their predetermined karma. But he said no. In fact, he said, I would venture to say that 2/3 of the things that happen to us in our lives has nothing to do with karma at all. And he said these are things that are called by the Tibetans adventitious. Adventitious. They call it the adventitious, as a matter of fact. And I personally do not 100% understand it, but I came up with an example that works. Because when I use the word "it happened by accident," Rinpoche said, no, don't say that. It's not accidental. And it's like, it's adventitious. But you tell me. I use the example of a summer thunderstorm. Sometimes when it is warm, air and moisture rises and it forms clouds, and those clouds cause rain. And sometimes with the wind involvement, it causes a thunderstorm. And so in the morning, when you are listening to your weather forecast, they don't say definitely there will be thunderstorms. They will say conditions are right for the forming of thunderstorms. So what I believe the adventitious is the sudden coming together of causes and conditions, the sudden coming together of these conditions and causes that bring about something else, something that maybe wasn't meant to happen, but did happen. And so Khenpo Rinpoche was very clear that only an enlightened being could, I guess you could say, read the tags on something that happens to us. This is your karma, or this is adventitious. And so he said, because of this, he said, it has been the position of many teachers to encourage their students to think that whatever is happening to them is karmically caused, and that they themselves probably did this bad thing to somebody else in one of their previous lifetimes, and that this is the karma coming back around. But it's really hard to know. We don't want people to go around blaming themselves for the bad things that happened to them. And Rinpoche said that is not the intention of the teachings on karma. It's not intended to make people feel badly about themselves. What it is, it helps us to understand that what we do matters. What we do, what we think, what we say, it matters. Because it is everything we do, think, and say is gradually changing us. It's gradually changing us, either for the worse or for the better. And so what we have to think about when something negative happens to us is that there are the three yanas, the Thegsum of our name, Karma Thegsum Chöling. There are three different approaches that we can take when bad things happen in our life. The Vajrayana practice is to look at the mind that's experiencing the suffering and see what that mind is. But that's awfully hard for people who haven't learned the practices of Mahamudra. It's a little bit difficult. So the next level of dealing with something bad that's happened is the level of the Mahayana, in which we engage love and compassion for ourselves and love and compassion for others. And so what this means is that when something negative happens, we think, there are so many beings suffering in this world. May my suffering contain the suffering of all beings. And by my working through this suffering, may I and all beings be free from suffering. May no one suffer like I am suffering now, and so on. And finally, if we have negative things happening in our life, we can use the Hinayana practice of praying to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas for the blessing that all beings are free of suffering. So when we have negative mental afflictions, it's the same thing. We can look at our anger with the eye of Mahamudra, looking into the mind and seeing that the mind is, it has no color, it has no shape, it has no beginning, it has no end. But if we're not trained in Mahamudra, we have to use mind training by thinking about ourselves and others with love and compassion. You have to excuse me, I have to use a lozenge. I have a dry spot in the back of my throat. If I don't use that, you will get a coughing spell and not the answer to the question. So the love and compassion practice helps us to cope with our anger a little better, so that we don't use our anger and act out on other people. Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche said, the Hinayana method for dealing with anger is to walk away. He said that it's before you open your mouth, it's probably best that you walk away. Because he said, otherwise you may give rise to more and more anger as you begin to act out your anger. So this is not probably a satisfactory answer to the person who was asking, is it my karma or is it that the other person is accumulating karma? The answer is anybody who causes harm or does benefit is creating karma. Whoever is doing harm is creating negative karma. Whoever does benefit is creating positive karma. And that was the teaching of the Buddha. But in terms of the suffering that comes to us, is it deserved? We don't think in those kinds of terms in Buddhism. Khenpo Rinpoche said to me one time, he said, I really don't like it when people use the teachings on karma as an excuse to not have compassion and not help other people. He said, you have to always have compassion. So I thought that was really interesting. He said, because some people, he's actually heard people say, well, that person is suffering, but I better not help because it's going to be messing with their karma. He said, don't use that as an excuse. That's not a good excuse. So I don't think it's necessary to say that we, quote unquote, deserve bad things that happen to us, because from our point of view, we haven't harmed anybody. We haven't done anything bad in our whole life. But the fact of the matter is, previous me may have done some things. When something good happens in my life, I say, yay, previous me, you did something good. And when something bad happens, I say, boo, previous me, you did something that wasn't very good. So it's not that I'm blaming myself. It's just that I wish that I had been smarter back when I was previous me. I know that that's a bit of humor, and that suffering and humor may not go together. So I apologize if that wasn't exactly the way to talk about it. I don't know if the person is still on the call or not, but if they are, I'm curious as to whether this was helpful. They may have left the call.
Looks like they're still there.
But maybe their sound is turned off.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's, you know, it's one of those things. I don't know if it's helpful, but if it was helpful, yay. And if not, I'm sorry.
It was for me.
No, I'm still here, and it was great. I appreciate everything you said. It was spot on. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah.
Fantastic.
I'm really sorry that bad things are happening, you know, in everybody's life these days. There are just so many, you know, negative things. You know, when I was splitting hairs with Rinpoche, I don't know if you have ever done this with your teachers, where I grew up Catholic, you know, and we used to ask the priests such crazy questions. You know, like, Father, is it a sin if I eat meat on Friday when I'm not supposed to, but because I forgot, is it still a sin? And like the priest is like shaking his head. But I asked a hair splitting question about this with Kempo Rinpoche. I said, so Rinpoche, let me see if I understand this adventitious thing and the difference between adventitious things and karma. Let me see if I understand it. So I said, okay, so I'm on the street corner and I am looking both ways, but I don't see a bicycle coming. And I step into the path of a bicycle and I get hit by a bicycle. So was being hit by the bicycle my karma? Or is it that the embarrassment and the embarrassment of having done something incredibly stupid, and also the embarrassment of the injury? Maybe I sprained my ankle or something from this, or maybe I've got a, you know, a knot on my face or something, you know, is that my karma? And he said, yes. So the idea is that suffering is the result of karma. But not everybody who has something bad happen to them, not everyone experiences intense suffering. I've met people who've had horrible diseases or terrible accidents, but their mind is just like fine. They're not suffering greatly. Whereas I've met people who have very minor things happen and they go to pieces, you know? So I don't know. Anyhow, so hopefully that was helpful.
Oh, very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. And
No.
guys, thanks for allowing me to ask her that. Thank you.
That's what we're here for, my friend. That is what we are here for.
Thanks.
Well, there's time. If anyone else has a question, there's time for one more. If there's one more out there. Oh, I see Bruce. Yes, Bruce.
So something I'm unclear on,
Mm-hmm.
and you mentioned this a couple of teachings ago. What exactly is it that persists from life to life?
Yeah, I've been studying, as I mentioned, a couple of sessions ago. I've been studying the book Karma, What It Is,
Mhm,
What It Isn't, and Why It Matters by Tröling Rinpoche,
mhm,
Traleg, Tröling Rinpoche's book on karma. And his explanation is really the best that I have ever seen anywhere in English, in that he said that the Buddha denied that we are entities, which I find really interesting.
mhm,
He said there is no entity. And he said that it's because he came up in a society that believed that that either an immaterial or material soul was given to each person by a god.
mhm,
That God gave everyone a soul, and that soul was permanent, and that soul was unchanging. And that soul remained the same. And in the case of the Hindu belief, it was always the same from life to life to life to life. But the Buddha said that, he said basically, I mean, this is just a silly paraphrase, like, well, when I experienced enlightenment, that is not how I experienced myself. That's not how I experienced my mind. And he basically said that we are consciousness that was never created by anyone. And because it was never created, it cannot go out of existence. It can't be destroyed. Since it wasn't created, it cannot be destroyed, but that it goes through a series of iterations of itself. It goes through a series of iterations of itself, which are formed and shaped by our habits. Our habits form and shape our personality and our character, and that we can actually guide this formation of consciousness intentionally by disciplining our minds through meditation, as well as accumulating positive karma, as well as training in bodhisattva actions and motivations. So, and this also is covered by the practice of mantra meditation. Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche said that when people visualize themselves as a Buddha or Bodhisattva, he said they're basically rehearsing their capacity to increasing their capacity to be able to benefit sentient beings in future lifetimes. And so this continuous iteration, if you think about it, is very similar to what happens what has happened to you in this lifetime. You are both the same and not the same as you were when you were 10. You are sort of the descendant consciousness of that 10-year-old with the body that was produced by previous karma. The body we have was produced. They call the body, the Tibetans call the body the fully ripened result of our previous karma, with all of its happiness and suffering and all of its good qualities and negative qualities and so on. And so what this consciousness in its unenlightened state, according to Chöling Rinpoche, is the carrier of this karma. And it carries this through from life to life to life. And so you could say it's an entity, but it's not really an entity because it's continuously changing. The Buddha used the example of a stream. He didn't say we had a soul. He didn't say we had a spirit. He didn't really even, in a way, say we had a mind. But we, we did have this consciousness. And let's see if I can remember. I'm sorry. There was a thought that I was going to add in the middle of that. I was going to say, oh, add this in. And then I forgot the thing that I was adding in. So I'm sorry. But the idea is that, the stream. Yeah, that was it. He said, we are more like a stream than we are like a thing. Because a stream, that old saying, you can't put your foot in the same river twice, because literally we are different than I am different than I was 5 seconds ago. And I am not the same. I will not be the same 5 seconds from now. But the change is very gradual and minor, but we still cannot put our foot in the same river twice. He called us a stream of being. The word he used was a stream of being that goes through time and is formed and shaped by our habits, which is why Khenpo Rinpoche encouraged people to form the very best habits they could form in this lifetime. And this is why for Carolyn and other people who are facing the bardo, Khenpo Rinpoche said the very, very best thing that a person who has not achieved enlightenment during their lifetime can do as one approaches death is to surround yourself with people who are very stable and compassionate, and then have those people help you from externally, guide you as you're passing away, and to and be there if they're very stable people and they're not volatile people, they will actually be able to sort of steady you. Even if your mind is not very steady, they'll be able to help you by being in your company. And he said the other thing you can do that will help you a lot is to make the aspiration to be reborn in the pure realm of Dewa Chen. Mingyur Rinpoche gave a lovely program last year or the year before about Dewa Chen, where he spoke about the benefits of being reborn there, that it's actually the coming together of causes and condition, the intention of the Buddha Amitabha to create this pure realm, and our wish to be reborn there. They take hold of one another, and our rebirth in Dewa Chen allows us to achieve enlightenment very quickly, and then from there we can emanate everywhere in the world and benefit beings in all the realms of samsara. We can emanate back into samsara from Dewa Chen. So Rinpoche said he had one of my Dharma friends who was who had not really arrived at Mahamudra practice yet, and he said, "Oh, I'm dying too soon." He said, "I'm not going to get to practice Mahamudra." And Rinpoche said, "Now, don't worry about that. It's all right. Make the wish to be reborn in Dewa Chen. And when you arise in Dewa Chen and you see the face of Amitabha and you hear his teaching, you'll arrive at Mahamudra realization on the spot." And then with your eye of wisdom, you'll be able to see all of those you left behind and be able to send emanations to help them in their lives. And I'm banking on him, on what he said. He said, "I'm going to Dewa Chen," he said. "You all have to join me there." So
very good. Well, that's very illuminating.
I hope it's helpful. I hope it's helpful. Yeah. And so what's really great about not being an entity is that we have an infinite capacity for change. We have an infinite capacity for change. And that this is something that Chöling Rinpoche repeats over and over again in the book, that the teachings on karma are very liberating because it allows us to change and become always.
Very good. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, no, thanks for asking. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight. It has been, thank you for letting me do the sort of combo of taking questions and doing some meditation, because that'll help us as we get ready for the next phase. Oh, the name of the book, allow me, I have it over here on my table, because I'm studying it with several people, and it's called Karma.
Wow.
What it is, what it isn't, and why it matters. Karma, what it is, what it isn't, and why it matters. And it's by Chöling Rinpoche, Traleg, Chöling Rinpoche.
I see a book study in the future with that one.
Yeah, we will have fun. I
think that would
fun will be had.
That'd be great.
I tell you, I have to tell you a funny story. It took me forever to get through the book because it's really, it's powerful. And I mean, it's a little book, but it took me forever. And so I figured the only way I was going to get the book finished was to set up a teaching at KTD. So I told KTD, "Oh, I can do this for you. You want me to do this for you?" And so I was terrified because I had in the book, I was not equal to it, but it was a lot of fun to study. A lot of fun. So there you have it. Well, so go ahead.
Karma is a big subject.
Yeah. Well, for those who celebrate, who celebrated last week or the week before last, blessed Hanukkah. And for those of you who are following other Western traditions, this is, I think, happy solstice. And And also for those of you who have Christian backgrounds or families, have a blessed Christmas. Let's dedicate our merit. We pull together all the goodness of this session and make the aspiration that all beings are free from suffering. There is so much suffering in the world right now. All we can do is pray. So let's dedicate all of our goodness to all beings. Through this merit, may all achieve the omniscience of Buddhahood. May it defeat our common enemy, wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara. May we free all beings. May we free all beings. May we free all beings. Thank you.
Thank you and happy holidays.
Yeah.
Yes,
Happy
thank you.
holidays.
Mm.
Merry Christmas. Happy
Uh,
New Year.
Solstice was about 10 minutes ago.
Woohoo. Woohoo.
Good
Woo,
timing
happened
on
while
the
we
clock.
were in class. Okay. So it's
Mama Kathy. Thank you, Lama Kathy.
all right. Okay.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Kathy.
Bye.
Yes,